cloud. Okay. All right. So this is October, what is it, guys? 11th, I think, something like that.
12th.
12.
12.
Thank you. And this is class 4 of the Qigong series. And so we've really been working thus far just on the standing posture, just plain standing, you know, and it turns out there's a lot in there, right? Kind of just like just sitting, there's a lot there. I don't really want to spend a lot of time in this class reviewing all the earlier points. However, if anybody has any particular questions or observations, things that have been coming up from your practice, I'd be happy to hear it and have some interaction before I introduce the new material for this week. So does anybody have any observations or questions about their practice? Not that you need to. Mark, please.
I do. We were working with the shoulders last week, and I'm yet to feel comfortable with it. I've tried it 3 or 4 times during the week, and I feel like I'm forcing. I'm not quite sure how to not do that.
Yeah, I mean, there is an inquiry. There's like a directive inquiry where you're kind of like you're questioning and you're paying attention. You're kind of leading, but it doesn't fall over into being aggressive. All right, so if it's too yin, then there's no direction. If it's too yang, it's too directed. So there's kind of like this balance thing somewhere in between-ish, right? And so it's important that you have the correct image. If we don't have the correct image, then it's impossible to stumble upon these things, honestly. It's maybe once in a blue moon you'll get a Mozart who will just alight upon it intuitively, but generally not. Okay, so when we talk about the shoulders, the most important thing is that you want to feel that the energy of the shoulders is coming around and back. It's kind of coming around and down, and that the energy is moving away like this. It's wrapping. So the shoulder is coming back this way and wrapping, but it's not nearly as much motion as what you can see my hands doing. It's micro movement, all right? So it's just more of like a little intending. And it's almost impossible to physically see when I do it. You know, you have to really kind of exaggerate it so then people can even get a sense of it. But the actual movement itself is more of an intent. Okay. And actually today's topic, I'm going to keep working into the shoulders a little bit more, and hopefully it'll add some clarity for you there.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else? Okay. So,
Question.
well, please.
Maybe it's too soon. When I was doing Zazen this morning, I was trying to sit like you taught us to stand.
Yep.
To kind of do the tailbone under, stretching the spine. I was having trouble with the shoulders also, but is that kind of the idea?
Yeah, it is. I mean, and there's a critical piece that hasn't been unfurled as yet for the shoulders, and I'm going to do that today.
Okay.
So these pointers are timely. But yeah, I mean, the body, you know, sitting structure is just a variant basically on the standing structure, you know. So everything from basically the pelvis up, you know, the hips and all this, when we're talking about structure, it's the same with sitting, except of course you have this mudra as opposed to just having the hands flat to your sides. But yeah, it's the same. Okay, so on, was that you getting fresh with a question here? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Could you just go real quickly down the list or up the list? Like,
Okay.
Me, blah, blah.
Yeah, I can review. It probably makes some sense to do a quick review anyway before we go on. So let's just try that. Everybody stand up. Okay, and I'm expecting that you can see me here. So I'll just talk you through pretty briefly, okay? But remember, the most important thing is the feet, okay? So your feet are parallel and they're connected to the floor, and they're directly underneath the hips, which are underneath the knees, which are underneath the ankles. okay? And correct for any malalignments, gently but clearly. You want to make sure that your weight is in the center of the foot, and that the foot itself from the arch feels like it's opening. So you want to open the arch of the foot, the toes open, and the sense is that you're drawing the earth up to meet the foot, right? When you feel like you've got that connected, and what you're doing is you're putting your mind in your foot when you do that. You're putting your mind in that aspect of your physiology, just like you put your mind in the one point when you're sitting, see? So put your mind in the foot, open it up, get it correct. When you've got that online, bring your mind up to your ankles and bring an expansion to the ankle joints. You just feel there's a space in there. It's expansive. And notice if you open the ankle joints and the feet close down, go back to the feet and open the feet again. So you want to stack this awareness as you go through the procedure. Don't let the one close down because you're not paying attention to it anymore, right? Keep them all open. So the sole of the foot, the toes, then up into the ankle, opening the ankle. Let your awareness come up through the leg to the knee, and let your knees be soft. And you want to make sure that the weight is traveling right through basically the backside of the knee, but the weight doesn't pool at the knee. So the knee is a weight transferal joint, not a weight bearing joint. So the knees are soft, but the weight is going right through them. The gravity is going right through the knees. So all you need to feel right now is that your knees, your ankles, and the soles of your feet are aligned. You don't have to worry about your breath in any particular way right now. Just let your awareness stay with those aspects of the body. And then bring your awareness up through the thighs to the hip bone, where your femur connects with your pelvis. And make sure that your hips are completely aligned with your knees. And then very gently tuck the tailbone under, tuck the tush under, so that it reinforces the weight going down to the center of the feet. And then just take a minute and connect. Notice that as you tuck the pelvis in, did you forget about your feet? Did the feet close down or stop expanding? So go back down to the feet and open them. Hold them open while you open the ankles. Hold them open while you gently open up the knees. Hold them open while you tuck under the tailbone. And from here, we move to the lower part of the spine, and we notice how the tailbone tucking under is pulling the spine down. And you feel that through the lower vertebrae. And then you gently breathe into the back. You go up by clumps of vertebrae until you get about to the mid-back, and then gently bring the mid-back away from you. So towards your shirt, towards your back, bring your spine back. Keep breathing through the spine, through the shoulder blades, up into the neck, and up into the skull, to the top of the head, the Ba Hui point. And then from there, take your shoulders and gently round them forward. Your biceps, your arms, they rotate inwards so that your hands are by your sides and the dragon's mouth is touching the thighs. And as you do that, notice how it wraps the fascia from between the shoulder blades around to the front. The chest is soft and sinking. And then extend the wrap from the lower part of the back around to the front. And then you bring your awareness to your arms. Let the elbows be soft, just like the knees are soft. And just like your feet are open, let the palm of your hands open. Just like the toes are out and drawing in, same with the fingers, they're out and drawing in. And let yourself just be aware of all these components. Okay, and if I'm right, that's as far as we've gotten the flag up the pole so far. Is that correct, everybody?
Yes.
Okay. So now that we've done that once, any last questions before we add the next component? Okay. So now I'm going to introduce some very important concepts, and this is called cavities, okay? Not like in your teeth, but cavities in the body. Also sometimes called qua, Q-U-A. These are openings. And there are several, and the order that I think is the most useful to present them in is as follows. I'd like you to consider this with me, okay? So come back to standing. And then what I want you to do, this is called a qua fold, or a qua squat, you could say. But we have our basic standing posture. And I don't know if you, I hope you can see me here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to gently bend the knees. And I'm going to let my weight sink. But as I do this, I don't want my head to tip forward at all. And I'm not going a very big distance either. And what I want to feel here is that the movement is happening right here in the crease where your leg meets your torso, sort of in the groin area. So it's the inguinal fold, I think it's called. It's right here where my hands are. It's like kind of like the line between your leg and your torso, right in the pubic line. And what you want to do here is as you make the fold, you want to feel that spot get soft. All right? So when I fold over, I don't want to just bend my head forward. I want to actually sink. And if you would, take your hands, just like the, the knife edge of your hand, and put it in here in this sort of slot between where your leg meets your torso, okay? And when you bend, you want to feel that is what's bending. That's what's sinking in, okay? And when you raise up, that's what's raising up. So this spot here, you can actually, if you can see it on my camera, I don't know, but so here's my leg, okay? So here's my torso and here's my leg. And right in here, it's the fold I'm talking about. So I want to move down this way and feel that get soft in this area, okay? Now that spot is called the qua. It's one of the places where the qua is located. And it's, if you take your first finger and kind of push in here, you'll find that there's a spot in there where it gets kind of gushy, okay? And that gushy spot, it's like a little cavity in the body. It's a space. If you're above it, you hit the bone. If you're below it, you hit the sizable muscle of your leg. But right in the crease there's a cavity, and it gets squishy. And that squishy cavity is what you want to feel, okay? And that cavity makes space when I sink, right? It's kind of like the tissue that you find on the back of your knee. Like if you put your finger in the back of your knee, if you lock your leg really strong, don't hurt yourself, but lock your leg, it feels solid right there behind the knee. But if you let your knee go soft, you find you can push your finger in and there's this squishy tissue in there, okay? That's another one of the cavities in the body. It's the back of the knee, okay? It's very different from elsewhere in the body. So that cavity in the back of the knee is related to this cavity here at the inguinal fold. See? And so when I do this so-called qua squat, I guess that's as good a word as I can come up with for it. What you want to do is feel both of those cavities get soft, but the weight still goes directly through the structure. And then when you kind of open up again, You open up the knees, and you feel them both rising. So just do that a few times and just tune into those cavities in the body. Now this area here in the body is really, really important for martial movement and for proper sitting alignment in Zazen, but critically for health and longevity as well. You want to make sure that that space in the body always is open and has flexibility and movement to it, okay? Now there's a parallel part, which is if you take your finger and put it in your armpit and go up and in there and relax your armpit, there's a little kind of soft, gushy tissue stuff in there too, okay? It's another cavity in the body, and it's about here. It's inside the body. It sits about right in here. It's inside, and it's about in the center of your mass. Some traditions call that the, what's it called? The shoulder nest. This is a term some Taoist teachers use to describe this. The shoulder nest, okay? And you want to feel inside the shoulder, okay? Inside here, like if you push your pec out, it's taut. But if you relax and let your chest get soft, there's a cavity right in here, and it's above the pectoral muscle. Okay, so my shoulder blade, or my shoulder joint is here. It's a little south of that, and it's right there. Okay, and if you relax yourself, you can push in there quite substantially. So you can access this point this way, and you can access this point this way, and it gives you some kind of a vector in here. And you want to have the image that you have these two shoulder nests, or shoulder cavities, you could say. They're on both sides, and they're here, okay? So they're above the mammary glands, if you have them. They're above the pectoral muscles, but it's not so far as being up here on the top of the shoulders. And these two points in the shoulders need to stay parallel to the quad that's in the linguinal fold. So what you have here is you've got a space kind of in the pubic area right here where the leg meets the torso on both sides. That's a cavity in the body. And then right above it, you've got the shoulder's nest cavities. So here, these two, okay, and then right down below, these two, right inside, okay? And what you want to do is you want to feel that these make a box, so that I've got this side here, and they make a line, and they connect through the channels of the body. I'll talk more in depth about the channels of the body as the course goes along. But for right now, suffice it to say that there's a central channel and two subsidiary channels to the sides. And this is going right down the side channels of the body, okay? But they're also connected horizontally. So the vertical connection is here to here, but the horizontal connection is across the top of the chest and across here. So it makes a box. So like if you were to actually, have some reflective tape, and I put it on my shirt, which I thought about doing and realized I have no reflective tape, but it's a square basically, okay? And what you want to feel is that the cavities inside your shoulders are expanding. You can imagine them like they're little airbags, like there's a little airbag right in here, and it's inside, okay? And when I go like this, it goes and it opens. It goes from this to being open. And there's one here and there's one here. And so when I wrap the shoulders around and I engage the chest cavity, it opens up with support. And these are like literally like airbags inside the body that give you structural support. Okay? You don't do this by flexing. You don't make military with your pectorals flexed or anything like this, but you just sense the qua in the shoulder's nest and you allow them to open. And at the same time, you open the qua here in the lower part of the stance. And so what happens is these two open up like airbags, and these two open up like airbags. Now what you want to do when you stand, when you're doing standing Neigong practice, is you want to just take the most simple stance that we're working on so far, And you want to bring attention to these vertical lines that connect the shoulder cavity to the qua here and the fold. And you want to bring attention to the line that connects them to each other. So this box exists. And it's not out here on your skin, it's inside the body. That's very important, okay? It's inside center mass. And what you want to do is, as this opens and these open, the whole structure is supported. All right? So it's like your spine gets help from these airbags that are in there, these chi bags, really. And they open up, these open up, and you've got chi. And it's a very similar feeling to when I say open the knees. You have that same feeling in the back of the knee, where instead of like flexing with your muscles, inside the soft space in the back of the knee, there's also those chi airbags, and they open up and support the knee. Okay? So when I'm standing here, I've done the whole procedure that we began with. Then I want to bring attention to the lower qua here and just have that feeling of expansion inside them. And then I want to bring attention to the shoulders nest qua and have them have the feeling of expansion. Many times there's a provisional teaching when people are giving instruction about this stuff. They'll talk about qua as the space between the armpit and the torso. And that's a result of the inner shoulder nest opening. When the inner shoulder nest opens, then the result is this arm has buoyancy to it, okay? But for a lot of times, this is just too esoteric and people don't talk about it. So they say, well, just keep the distance between your armpit and your torso open a little bit. But what you do is you end up activating your muscles up here to do that, and then it's all fucked up. You don't want to do that. You don't want anything up here to be tight, okay? So what you want to do is have this shoulders nest open, and right away what you see is that creates this expansion here. Now this box, okay, it's very important structurally that you never crumple that box, okay? So like take your right arm and put it up here on top like this, and this is kind of mimicking the line across your shoulder nest. And take your other hand and put it just here, like just above the pelvic floor, or the where your hara ends, the pelvic bone here. All right, now this, you want to have it feel like this is expanding, okay, away from each other. And that's the feeling that you get from this box. And when I turn, if I go like this, if the top part of my body moves and the bottom part stays here, I'm twisting, okay? And I'm taking the body and I'm making this kind of a turn, and it's not healthful for the body. Whenever you turn, what you want to do is you want to actually fold from here. So the qua here shifts, and this box, the whole thing moves. So anywhere when you move, this whole box maintains its alignment, okay? So as an exercise, you can a little bit, and I'm not talking about a huge range of motion here, but if you rotate your thighs, both of them to your left, okay, and then rotate your thighs, both of them to the right, you want to have the feeling that you're keeping your torso aligned. What you do not want to do is turn the top of your body and have the bottom stay there, or have the bottom go and have the top stay here. You want the whole thing to move together, okay? So when you make, we have some Tai Chi practitioners here. When you see a good solid Tai Chi, you should always be seeing that structural alignment of this box is correct. This is expanding, and it's maintaining alignment, and they move. And it's the same thing in Aikido movement that I practice. This alignment is absolutely essential. Any kind of martial movement, if that gets misaligned, my structure becomes weak. But also, just for Zazen, okay, when you're sitting, your legs are in lotus, or variations thereof. But you want to feel that this qua is opening here, and it's inside the body, and it's opening, and it's making airbag support. okay? And then the shoulder cavity is opening, and that makes support. And what that does is that makes this whole structure sound and quite sustainable and quite comfortable, actually. Because your muscles, when you do this, your muscles can just relax. Okay, the felt sensation is that the skeletal system is aligned and supported by these chi centers that are opening and pulsing. So when the shoulder cavities open and pulse, it supports all this structure, and my muscles can just relax and just be chill. Okay. So from here, I'll make this way. Let's go back again to the beginning. Put your feet so that they're parallel. Let your awareness come to the bottoms of the feet so that the feet are opening. There's another one of these right in the center of the foot. It gets a little squishy there. You can feel like that's another one of these opening places. Okay. It opens. It draws the earth up. The ankles opens. The back of the knees slightly open. And now here, this qua opens. The tailbone turns in slightly. Rock your weight so that your weight is exactly in the center of the foot, and the tailbone turns to reinforce that. Weight going to the center of the foot. Maintain all those openings. You scan up the spine, opening up each vertebrae. The Ming Men pulls back slightly, up through the neck, up through the head, right? And then open the chest, the shoulders nest. Feel that open up, and notice how that gives lightness to the arms, okay? And feel how the alignment between the shoulders nest and the qua and the legs. And then also similarly, feel how the elbows are opening up similar to the knees, and how the hands, the palm of the hands, are opening up so similarly to the sole of the foot. Now lastly, bring your attention to that box I was talking about between the shoulders and the center of the legs, or where the legs meet the torso, and just feel the expansion between all four of those points. And let that expansion hold you. Okay. So I'm curious about your questions or observation about this. Jeff, it's nice to see you here, man. Welcome. Can you feel something about what I'm trying to point to, or is this just too elusive?
I feel like when you talked about making the box here with the hands and imagine the expansion, I feel like, I don't know, it's like a sense of power, or like I don't know, I feel something. It's kind of cool.
Well, no, power is the right word, my friend. This is when you get your body aligned, you become ridiculously powerful and at the same time incredibly relaxed. Okay. And typically for male expressive bodies, we tend to think power means exertion, and this is just so much horseshit. You know, real power is very relaxed, and that's why it's so powerful. All right. It's not tense and forced, but it's not just lackadaisical with hopes. You know, it's actually a physical thing. So when this shoulder nest opens up, okay, it supports my whole structure. And you have to concentrate the mind there and just feel it. And then when you correlate that or connect it with the here, right, and you open them simultaneously and you feel how they push away from each other, and the 2 points here push away from each other, you've got this structural box that's expansive inside your structure. And that's way stronger than your muscles can ever be, because that's chi. So powerful is, if you're starting to feel kind of powerful and relaxed, you're in the right direction. Anybody else? Yeah, please.
So I don't know if this is helpful or if there's something problematic about this, but one of the things that is helping me is that I kind of visualize there to be like actual like golf ball-ish things, like spheres inside those points.
Yeah.
And I see those expand to like baseball size.
Very good. That's
Okay.
very good. Just remember that visualizing is not the same thing as feeling.
Okay.
So a visualization can be a very good entrance, but what you want to do is use the visualization to steer your perceptual awareness so that you can feel into your body more meticulously. Mm-hmm. And when you really start to feel in there, you have to kind of let go of the image. Because what happens is we end up in our mind with images, not knowing that that's where we are, and we're not actually feeling, okay? So the image is excellent. It's very useful as long as it drives you to listen to your own body and feel it. And once you're in contact with it, you don't need the image anymore.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yoshiki, yeah?
I get this part, the inguinal ones, is it more than halfway down? Like I can't really feel it unless I bend over, and we're not bending when we're doing it.
That's why I did the fold. It's easier to feel this when you squat a little bit, okay? But it's right on the line, you know, right where the leg and the pubic area is, I guess, you know, there's a line there where the skin is. That's exactly where it is, okay?
I got, but I'm having trouble with how far down, like below the pubic bone, or
no.
Is it more
it's
like
about
right
halfway. Yeah, I get
halfway,
you.
right in the middle? Okay.
Yeah. It's about three soon below the hip bone. Maybe 4.
Well, that helps.
Yeah. That's a good thing.
That's what okay.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that. It's hard for me to know how to talk about this, but like here's my belt, okay, and the hip bone is there, and then it's about 4, maybe 5 fingers down. It's this far down on my body from that point, and it's right along the sides, okay. So it's right, you know, not to be indelicate here, but it's right there, okay, just above the genitals. It's not so far as to go down to where the genitals are. It's above it, but it's in that crease, okay. And
okay. Did you say this far? Were you showing 4 fingers?
Yeah, it's about 5 fingers.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's above the genitals, but it's below the pubic bone. I guess I got to get my Western physiology down, but it's just right here, okay? And when you sink, that lines up exactly to the shoulder nest. And that alignment is absolutely critical. And you'll see this in Qigong, Tai Chi, Bagua, Xingyi, Aikido, any of these arts that have an internal aspect to them in a martial way. This essential alignment is absolutely critical. It's very rarely explicated as such, but when you look at the forms, if someone knows what they're doing, that alignment is just absolutely impeccable, okay? And you look at somebody who's not, they turn like this, and that alignment is messed up. And then what happens is the body's ability to funnel gravity is perturbed, and we become weak, okay? But not only just martial use, just day-to-day.
One final thing.
Yeah.
Sorry. One final thing, when you say the cross line, it's internal, that would be like right above the top of your pubic bone or right behind it, I guess. Yeah. It's kind of.
It's imaginative, but it's like in here, right? So it's going this way. It's like right below my belt, and it follows right along the belt line.
That's sort of the top of the pubic bone. And it's in the internal, I mean, like where your hara is kind of in the middle.
It's in the body. It's not out there on the skin. It's in the side. Okay. And again, you want to imagine it like an airbag. It's in here and it's inside there and it opens. And what it does is it supports the spine and it supports the femurs. And the ones up here, when they open, they take the weight of the shoulders. See, if you carry the weight of your shoulders with your arms, you're in a lot of hurt and you're in a lot of dysfunction. If you let the chi carry your upper structure, this whole thing rests. Your shoulders rest on this, okay? Your skeletal system is pulled up from the ba hui point, so that's kind of floating there. But then there's this airbag in here that helps buff it up. So all the ribs and everything just sit on that, and they're held up by it. And this underneath here is supported by that, and they go away from each other. They open. They open this way, and they open this way. Here, here. And the muscles can relax. Okay. So there's more of these in the body. So let's continue. Put your hand on the top of your hip bone, okay, right here on the side. And then put your other hand at the bottom of the rib. Okay, there's a rib here, the last rib, the floating rib, whatever. Now right in between those two, gently, but go ahead and dig in there a little bit on both sides. And inside there, in alignment, is another pair of these golf balls, if you want to say, or chakras or energy centers or qua, whatever, cavities, okay? It's squishy in there, okay? And what you want to do is you want to feel that those spots, they too open up. And just like a balloon, if it opened up in that space, it goes whoop, okay? It provides structure to above and below. And it's in here. So I've got the shoulders nest, I've got these internal ones here, and I've got these ones at the base. So far we have this is base, this is central, and this is kind of upper. And it's all within the torso, okay? So the torso has the lower set of airbags at its base, these in the middle, and these ones really support the spine. These are really, really important, supporting the spine. And then you have the ones up at top at the shoulder. Now, when you're trying to feel this, you have to just, you have to take up the practice of having the image, and you've got to listen deeply with your intelligence and with your senses. You have to literally put your mind in that place and hold it there and will yourself to feel it, okay? You will not feel it, and like I've said before, you won't feel it like when you rub your fingers together. It's not going to sound, it's not going to sense like that. But when you have this, you put your attention in here, actually try it. You kind of relax your body a little bit and kind of go in there. Okay, don't hurt yourself, but go in a little bit. And then what you want to do is feel something in there that literally expands. Just feel like your middle finger expand against your own middle fingers from that point of contact. See? And it would be like that if you could jut in here well enough too, under the armpits. There's something in there that opens up. For most people, the middle finger is the longest digit. That's not universally true, but it's generally true. So that middle finger inside here, as far as I can comfortably go, I can push on it with my shoulders nest. This is not just imaging and imaginary stuff. This is physiological, like making your hand go like this. Someone who's adept at this, like if we were in the same room together, I would have you ram your hand up here and I would push on it with my qua and you could feel it. And if we were in the same room, I could have you jam your fingers in here like this and I could push on them with my qua alone and you would feel it, right? And I probably wouldn't let you, but you could put your fingers here and I could push on them with my quad just the same. Okay. And this is one of the great benefits I've had over many, many decades with my teacher, Rinsen Shihan, because he's very generous, so he allows me to put my hand on his body and feel what's going on in there. And if somebody doesn't do that, you wouldn't believe it's possible. I'm just to say it, you would think it's not within human capability, but actually it's quite doable. Okay, so can you do that? Can you relax? It's exactly between the bottom rib and the top of the hip bone here. Relax yourself, dig in there comfortably, okay? And then without moving any other muscles, just expand against your fingertips. Okay. Now you want to find a way to do that with your intent. Can you make that happen? Can anybody feel that? Okay. Questions?
I'm feeling my lungs expand as I breathe in. I'm feeling the expansion of my lungs, but I don't know if it's the qua.
It's not when you really connect with it. I mean, certainly the lungs are going to push stuff around in there, but that's not the same thing. You can do this while holding your breath, while inhaling, or while exhaling. It's just like I can go like this while I inhale, exhale, or hold my breath, so I can expand those qua in the inner channels and open them without necessarily using the breath to do it. It's another very rudimentary and basic teaching that's good for beginners sometimes, to tether everything to the breathing, but it's a temporary teaching. Ultimately, you want your breath to just relax and breathe itself, and you want your body to be aligned. And you don't want to have to be breathing to steer the ship all the time, okay? It's good for a temporary expedient means to develop certain capacities, but ultimately, it's not where it's at, okay? So when you can really do this, you can put your hand in there and you can just go ahead and move it, just like you can, you know, make a smile or a frown, or open your nostrils, or open your mouth. It's exactly the same. And it is just as doable, okay? Anybody else on this part? I gotta say, you're all enveloped in shadow. I can barely see any of you. Maybe that's a conscious behavior. Yoshiki, I can see. All right. Okay, so let me give you another one then. If you thought that was weird, wait for this one. Okay, you got this notch here in your throat. Okay, you can get that little spot in there. Okay, there's bone, and then there's a little hole. Okay, now what you do is you go in and down a little bit. Don't hyperventilate yourself, but you can go down in there like this. Okay, and that spot, there's a little squishy cavity in there. Now inside there is another one of these qua kind of spots. And if you open that one up, what it does is it supports all the neck. So what I typically tell people is, okay, tilt your head back, you know, like tuck in your chin a little bit and raise the lower occipitals a little bit. And that's not wrong. But a deeper level of this is that this qua inside the back of the throat opens like that. And that takes all the weight of the skull. Okay, so what ends up happening is the shoulder's nest is supporting all the shoulder cavity and the chest. These midpoints are supporting the spine in the center of the spine. The lower qua is opening and supporting the base of the spine and the pelvis. And then this one in the back, inside the throat. This one in here expands up. And that actually, when I do that, I don't know how well you can see in this format, but this goes here, and the back of the neck opens. All of this opens up behind me, and that takes the weight of the skull. Okay? And when all those centers are opened, you have got the most potentiality for the chi to circulate through your body unimpeded. If my neck is, you know, doing this kind of thing or doing this kind of thing or being misaligned in different ways, then again, gravity can't do its correct move with me. I'm inhibiting it with my structure being malaligned. So when I open up this, it's a good thing I amuse myself. Okay, if you open that one up, and I can push against it with my finger, what that actually does is that opens up the back and takes all the weight of the skull. All right, so see if you can access that. and Shokai and so on, and Michelle and Fuzan and Jeff, you're all hiding because your camera's not on, and that's not helpful. What's that? There we are. Thank you, so on. I feel lonely. I see this blank name with no feedback. Okay. Hello, Michelle. I'm glad you're here. Okay, so don't push too hard in there, but you do want to feel that open up. So if we think about this, you got the base with the feet, ankles, the knees, okay, the hips, pelvic tilt. You got the traction on the spine. You got the spine lightly pulled back. You've got opening all the way around to the top of the head, the Bahui point. Then from there, you wrap around the arms. You pull from the shoulder blades around the spine, around to the front, all the way around. You have the tiger's mouth along the side of the body. Okay. And you open up the elbows and the hands, just like you open up the knees and the bottoms of the feet. And then you bring your awareness to the shoulder nest here and feel that open and allow that to take any weight that your shoulders are bearing, and just let the chi of those open chakras, I guess we'll call them, let that take the weight. And then you go down to the mid of the body and open those two. Let them support the spine in both directions. And then in the linguinal fold, let that open and support the base. And then lastly, open up the throat. Now, as you go through that procedure, what you can do is you can actually put your mind, let's say, in the shoulder nest, okay, and open those up, and then go back and notice what that did to your feet. If your feet closed up, open them again, and then go back up to the shoulders nest and see what that did. And then go up to the ankles and the shoulders nest, go back to the knees and the shoulder nest, go back to the pelvis and the shoulders nest, tailbone, and you relate every other point to the shoulders nest and see what you can notice about it, okay? And then you do the same thing with the midsection, and the same thing with the low section, and the same thing with the throat. And as you do this, we're going to talk more about this as we go on, but if you find discomfort in the body, pain, dysfunctionality, or dullness, numbness, excessive strength, anything that isn't just natural flow, what you want to do is notice, like, okay, I've got, say, a pain in my leg. And then I open up the shoulders nest, okay, and let the shoulders nest really open up. And then go back to the pain in your leg and feel if it's still there. Open up support in the mid area. And then go back to that pain in your leg and see if it's still there. Has it been affected in some way? Is it lessened to some degree? Right? Because the reality is that every point in the body is directly connected to every other point in the body, okay? And so I might have a dysfunction in one part of my system that I can directly help by alleviating dysfunction in other aspects of the system, okay? Okay, so we're getting close to our hour limit here. Any comments or questions on this discussion of these chakras or cavities or qua in the body?
I'm not sure I get the rib part. I'm not quite sure where that is and how it actually works.
The center ones? Fortunately, these are among the easier to feel, actually. If you just go right between, like again, if we were in person, I'd put your hand here and put it in there and let you pierce my side to prove it. But anyway, it's right here, and you go in, okay, just like that. And that's below my rib and above my hip, right in the center, and that's it. And then I'm going to feel that point opening. See, and at the beginning, if you're a little muscular about it, it's okay. You're kind of getting your feet wet. It's fine. You know, eventually you want to do it relaxed, but it does open.
Okay.
So if you put your fingers in there and you find some way to push against them, you're in the right direction.
Okay. I think I got him.
And it's the same thing here. You take that middle finger, which is
That
the
one.
largest, the longest finger, you kind of soften up and you find where you can kind of go right in there a little bit extra, like there, and then open up against it. And you're in the right direction. And it sits like right about in here in the body. Okay. And then the same thing with this one. You have to go into a little bit of a squat to access it, but you can push in there a little bit, keep your alignment together, and open it. And you're in the right direction that way. Some teachers will take like the blunt end of a chopstick or a drumstick or something like that and push in there and push against it because it's easier to feel. You know, you can try that, you know. Don't be too invasive with yourself, but you know, it is a physical thing. This is my main point. It's like when you breathe in or breathe out, it's measurable by anybody. You know, if you put your hand on my chest and I breathe in with my chest, you can tell it's happening. And it's exactly like that with everything I'm talking about. It's not just imaginative. Anybody else? Jeff, Sensei, you got any questions or observations? Doesn't seem to be. So on, yeah?
Yeah, when you say open up these spaces, there's nothing muscular that we do, correct? It's all imagination.
No, it is physiological. Okay, so what I don't want to say, yes, it's muscular because you'll try to flex, okay?
Okay.
But it does move. It's a physiological movement in the body. When I go in here like this in the throat notch and open, there's a physical movement in the body. So I'm not just putting this in my throat and imagining it. There's actually a, okay? It's kind of like, you know, like some people can flare their nostrils. It's like that. It's a thing you can do.
Okay.
Wiggle your ears, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a thing. Kaishin, yeah, I can see you're there. Yeah.
So some of the things that you had us do felt very familiar. I've never received this teaching before. Is it possible or likely that just from a lot of time in Zazen, in the right postures of Zazen, open these naturally if we're doing that correct? Like even if you've never heard this before?
It's not just possible, it's almost inevitable. I mean, if you really sit correctly in Zazen with just the most basic instruction and you really do it right, all you really need to do is put your mind in the one point and disappear into it with great intent, and all the systems of the body will start to align and start to make this work. And that's true, you know, and my feeling is that when the first pioneering ancestors brought the Dharma to the West, they were having a tough time even communicating in English, let alone try to communicate these subtle internal workings of the body. And so they just gave the most basic instruction, but it's all packed in there, okay? And it does happen. However, you know, if I point it out to you and you work on it a little bit, you can get it going a little bit faster, okay? Hopefully a lot faster. And if you bring awareness to it, you can strengthen what's already there, you know? So yeah, if you see somebody who's sat deeply for a long time, their body does this stuff whether they can articulate it or not.
Thank you.
Who's in? Yeah.
So today was really good. Jesse's question about like imagining and actually feeling, I think is like I'm really feeling that, and kind of when I'm imagining, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a great image, but I'll like my body's like, no, that's like BS. But as soon as I pushed on my body, I could feel the claw open. I'm like, oh yeah, so easy to just physically feel. So kind of that dial of imagination and kind of feeling has been difficult because I can get kind of stuck imagining and I feel so crummy when I get stuck in imagination. But yeah,
Well,
I don't know.
let me just stand up for imagination for a while. I mean, you know,
For sure.
creativity and the capacity of the human mind to participate in the creative action of the universe by imagining and feeling and sensing in creative ways. This is awesome, you know. It's just that, like many things, we get jacked into our mind's imaging, and we don't realize that that's disconnected from our actual experience. Or properly said, that becomes the totality of our experience, and we're disconnected from our body and our other senses. So there's nothing wrong with imagination. I'm a big fan, you know. But we do, if you're going to do this work, if you're going to awaken to the human body, if you're going to awaken your human body, you have to get out of the imagining and get into the feeling. You have to actually feel into your body in a cellular level. I mean, you actually can, it is within the realm of human possibility to feel and sense down to the cellular level. That might seem like an impossible truth claim, but this is my experience. And this is also what's talked about in the ancient teachings. Okay, yeah.
So when back here opens up, you know, you can feel that in Zazen sometimes.
Yeah.
And often when I feel that, I also feel it in my ears, you know, the Eustachian tubes, like relieve pressure. Is that normal?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, because what's happening is this in here, you think there's an airbag in here and it opens, okay? And all the vertebrae, and we're going to work vertebrae by vertebrae as we go on here, but all the vertebrae basically stack open, and it goes all the way up into the brain, and everything opens up. So it's quite natural that you'd have those kind of sensations at times. It's not the case, however, that if you don't have that sensation, you've missed something. It's like, you know, maybe my fingers will crack and maybe they won't, but I'm doing the same movement. So sometimes when you do that, you might get a sensation of the ears releasing. You might not, but it's natural. There are very specific points in the skull that we need to study together and learn how to release. And the inner ear is one of them. The space in front of it around here is one of them. There are several points. We'll go through them in the right time. Okay. I think I noticed Jeff Sensei making some text. Jeff says, no questions, but this seems to fit with Gleason Sensei's use of bows in the body. Nice explanation, underlying physiology and internal workings. I don't have a camera. Okay. Yeah, it's completely in alignment. Yeah, you know, it's all dirt from the same hole, you know. Fortunately, this stuff is not really as esoteric as it might seem at first glance. You know, the human body is actually quite well mapped out, and this is all part of its functioning. Okay. All right, everybody. Well, I hope you're continuing to enjoy this and nourished by it. You know, I was frankly a little bit, I've been hesitant for years to actually go into depth about this outside of the dojo. You know, we get into it in the dojo because they're studying the body with me in a particular way. But honestly, this is integral to just being in a structure for health and longevity. And it's also integral to awakening, you know, as Kaishin mentioned, you know, this seems familiar. Wait a minute. I think I've never heard this, but I kind of know this. And that's good. That's a good sign, you know. So let's dedicate our merit together. So by the merits accrued by our exchange today, may our practice be enriched, may our health and longevity be furthered, and may we dedicate this merit to all those who are ill at ease in their bodies at this moment. May their suffering be relieved. May it be so. All right, everybody, dig in, enjoy this, work with it, and you know, bring your questions next week, and we'll get this going, and we'll move on to the next step.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Thank you.
It's very
well
good.
done.
See y'all.